We're fighting. Sorry. You know, when the crew gives us like really fun stuff, we don't know what to do with it. Ow! Okay, so obviously it's February Valentine's month. Look, is this cute? Our crew's so creative.
I got
They're
forced
so
to wear this.
You are.
Oh my gosh.
Yours are going bong bong.
Mine should be a Chinese New Year. Let me look tigers up there. That would have been better.
There you go.
Happy Chinese New Year.
Hi guys. Welcome.
Hi everyone.
Thanks for joining us. For our AI Live. We appreciate it. This is so much fun. We have so many people signed up, and we've had fun this last month. What have you done the last month since we've seen our guests?
Nothing. We went we just went to AmSpa, so we had a booth there for aesthetic immersion. I think it was highly received, so we're excited about that. Luckily, I didn't have to speak. I got out of speaking.
I was busy much of the time. Yeah, but it was fun. It was fun. Just sharing. It's always, and you usually talk a lot. You usually do a lot of speeches, but you got time off this time. But it's fun for us to share what we've learned with you guys and everybody that was there. And so many people came up to us and said hi and how much they love aesthetic immersion and a founders club. And it was so neat to see that people are enjoying what we're putting out there.
Yes.
So it was really neat. So yeah, I was at MedSpa too. I was at Kansas the week before that, teaching a wonderful clinic called Holiday Med Spa and the group back there, and it was really awesome. It's been fun.
Yeah, no, I got to chill a little bit. Did a little training.
He's chilled in Vegas.
Chilled in Vegas.
Shopping.
No, I didn't do that much.
You went to a Christian Dior. Yeah, you did.
Little tiny bit.
We had food though.
I ate a lot. I've been eating a lot this month. That's for sure.
Oh, we went to a great steakhouse. And
that steakhouse.
Yeah, that was really good.
Very good steakhouse. Really good.
We have a game.
Oh.
Love it or leave it?
Love it or leave it.
Look at the slide. Tell us if you love it or you would leave it and why.
All right. Here's a game time before we jump into our topic.
So we're supposed to look at a slide.
Okay. Love it or leave it.
Okay.
Let's see.
Acne
scar treatment.
Love it.
Love.
Oh, love it.
Love it.
Okay, so heart means love it.
Love it.
Love it. Acne scar treatment using energy-based devices. Love it. I love it with microneedling. I love it with radiofrequency microneedling. I love it with lasers. That is a laser energy-based device. How about you?
Exactly. Same.
Anything else?
All of those.
Okay.
Let's see. Next, derma rollers.
No. Leave it.
Leave it. Microneedling pens. Yes.
But not derma rollers. You can't sterilize those. That worries me.
Well, no, and also as it's tracking, you're actually, as the needle comes out, you're pulling the skin, and you're gonna scrape the skin more instead of creating nice, beautiful, even channels through. So I think. No, not derma rollers. That's fallen out of favor.
That's a leave it.
Our virtual mentorship. Of course we love it.
We love the virtual mentorship programs. We love it. You know what's fun is our mentees love it too, and you have access.
They get interactive.
Oh my gosh!
On the community forum that we have, we're trying to build that up so people can ask each other questions and help each other. So try and build more of a community.
It's like an AI Facebook, you guys, because there's a community forum where you can talk to each other and ask questions. And if somebody's perplexed, then our staff will send us the questions, and we'll hop on there and answer the questions.
Part of it.
It's like an AI Facebook. MySpace, isn't it?
MySpace. Wow. You're aging yourself.
I know. It's an AI TikTok. I don't know. What the heck?
All right.
Okay.
Body contouring using energy-based devices. Yeah.
I don't have energy-based devices for body.
Well, you could use your microneedling RF to tighten up the skin.
I was thinking body. Okay, I like that for face.
Yes,
I love the radiofrequency microneedling for face.
But body, tightening the thing, but definitely.
You have M-Sculpt.
M-Sculpt, you love. Yep. Saved me through COVID. Got my abs more in check. Got my gluteal muscles in check. Definitely.
And you still eat steak every night.
That's why I can eat. All you people who ask why I can eat so much, M-Sculpt.
But in what I want to tell you guys too is if you're thinking about buying a body contouring device, please research it.
Yeah.
There are some out there, and you've bought some of those that you get them and they tell you they're wonderful, and that they don't. The outcome's not what you want it to be.
Let it kind of sit in the industry. I used to be like, let's get the newest. Wait a little bit, see what the thing is. ask your reps from other companies who get to go around to different people around you and ask them what their opinions are and get multiple opinions, because somebody may love it, somebody may hate it, and somebody may like, okay, I like it. And then you can kind of get a feel for what the industry thinks about the new machine or whatever machine that you're interested in.
And you know what? Real self is a really honest way to look at things too, because that's the public that aren't paid that are going on there and saying, I love it or hate it, and is it worth it or is it not worth it? And if a device isn't worth the money a patient's going to pay, I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't want it. So body contouring is another one where people will kind of sell you down the road sometimes, and you want to make sure that it's really efficacious.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next one, gua sha. Love it.
Is that the roller?
Well,
What's gua sha?
Gua sha is like they take the bone and they like scrape your lymphatics and your muscles. You can get bruised up, but it's about moving lymphatics.
Does it hurt? Is it like a deep massage? I'm not into that now. Right, no. I'll leave that.
It's good for you. It's about pushing the toxins out.
Okay.
It's an Asian thing.
Gua sha.
But yes, I love that.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
A balanced treatment plan using products, skincare, energy-based devices, lasers, toxins, fillers, balanced treatment drugs.
Sure.
Yes! Love it.
We are all about that nowadays.
And you know what? And I love that the team put this down there, because the team, how did the team even know we need this? Yes. A treatment plan is so important for your patients. And I really want you to, when you're doing consults, spend time, have time for your consults. And when you're doing consults, make a beauty plan or a treatment plan for them. So they might not want to do everything at once, but they can you can march things out this month, the next month, we're going to do this. And they'll have a plan and something to save for and something to plan on.
Yeah, those are going to be your patients who are going to be your long-time patients, because they understand that there is a plan. Those patients who are just in and out, jumping, I just want this, I just want this, I just want this. There's no like end goal for them, because ultimately they're not the ones that understand how your face is aging. We're aging in all different areas: skin, subcutaneous, muscle, deep fat pad, bone. Like, you're aging in all different aspects of it. And if you're not addressing things at all different levels, and you just keep doing filler, you're going to miss the boat, because the whole face in general is aging altogether. And this is the reason why you need a balanced treatment plan. Sometimes I tell patients, I may see you, and yes, we tell people these fillers last 12 months, but I may see you next time and we'll do threads, because that's what's needed. I may do threads, and they'll say, how long does that last? And I check it in 1 year, and I'll feel them. And I have patients who are now 2 years out. I'll feel them like, nope, you're just missing some volume, because you've started to lack volume. You're holding tight very nicely. So ultimately, it should be changing. It shouldn't be, I think the only thing that should be regimented for the most part would be toxins.
Yeah.
And even that, you start off 3 months. I do as a treatment every 3 months. And when you look really good, you slowly start to spread it out into more maintenance. I do treatment versus maintenance. So 3 to 4 months, up to 4 to 6 months as they get into maintenance. So even that changes based off of what you're seeing, because you don't want to relax out all the muscle and kill it out too much. But I think that people need to be out there, as practitioners, need to be prudent about understanding that there are different reasons why patients are aging. Just because you do threads does not mean you don't need to tighten up the skin, and you don't need fillers, and you don't need this. There's no one fix it all, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's very true. So, treat what has been changed. Treat what age has changed in somebody. If they've lost volume, put volume. If they have skin laxity, put skin laxity. If their skin's thin, thicken the dermis. So look at that patient and develop that plan according to them. Everything is going to be different. So like in our school, we want to develop that critical thinking in you. We don't want to give you a cookbook because everybody's not the same crock pot of food. So everybody's different. So we want to develop that critical thinking in you, so you can look at somebody and assess them individually, and that's what's so important. And you're going to get the best results and the happiest patients with that.
Yep, for sure.
Do we have another question? Do we have another one?
Do we have any more? Oh, nope.
Energy-based devices.
Energy-based devices.
I'm like, yes, I love them.
No, it wasn't part of that. That is our topic tonight. So hopefully you guys watched our part 1. And that was last
lasers.
week or last month, and it was on lasers. It was an energy-based, but focused on lasers. And hopefully we help you define laser. Now we're moving into a more broad category, which is kind of energy-based devices. Right. Okay.
Right. That are non-laser.
So these are non-lasers, exactly. Let's see what we have. So, in review, these are the laser categories versus the energy-based devices. So lasers being laser hair removal, CO2s, erbiums, thuliums, you have your nano and picosecond lasers. There are probably other lasers that are missing out there. But these are really a focused beam of light. And that's what lasers are, an amplification of light in one specific wavelength. Okay. Now, once you move out of one wavelength and you have many different wavelengths, that's where you start to get into where we generalize it and call it energy-based devices. And depending on the wavelength, you have different parts: the microwaves, the ultrasounds, the radiofrequencies, all of the different things that are out there that we can harness energy to do something to the skin.
Okay. And those are like the microneedling, the radiofrequency microneedling, or the radiofrequency treatments that happen to tighten and cause collagen stimulation. Microfocused ultrasound, IPL, BBL, which is the intense pulse light, or broadband light, which is low nanometer wavelength and has a few different wavelengths of light in it. And plasma energy, which is, we've seen a lot of plasma pens being used and things like that.
State, right?
Right?
The fourth state. There's solid, gas.
And plasma.
And plasma. Solid, gas, liquid, and plasma. All right. So just quick review of lasers. You guys hopefully have kind of memorized this chart.
If not, go ahead and memorize it. We'll give you a second.
But this kind of shows you absorption versus wavelength nanometers of light, the nanometers of light. And you can see the lower ones, hemoglobin and melanin, have high absorption. That's why at the 400 or 500s, you can address both pigment and cause some damage there, and you can address some of the redness. Why we use IPLs in those ranges for the rosacea aspect of it. And
you can also those broadband lights that's down there in the 500s hits reds and browns so hard that you can fry someone very easily with those with the IPL. So that's IPL is one wavelength, IPL BBL that I really respect almost more than any wavelength, because that can really burn someone easily, because it hits reds and browns so intensely.
Yes, as you can see, it says high absorption. It has high absorption. As you can see, as you follow it out and you get into the higher wavelengths, the melanin curves and the absorption curves of those start to come down, and starts to be water. Water starts to take over, and that's where CO2 lasers focus into that, erbiums focus into that, thuliums, all of those are about heating up water to get the desired results.
And those are colorblind. So it doesn't matter what color the tissue is, can't see color.
Because you can see the melanin absorption drops off. Hemoglobin absorption drops off. And that's why it's just focused on water.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's your review of lasers. We hope you remember all of that.
Now we're jumping into energy-based devices. So we have different energy-based devices that are out there. You have, in comparison, the fractional laser resurfacing and how deep it gets into it. You can see it gets into the epidermis, dermis. Then you have your monopolar RFs, which are considered more like your thermages, that you can punch and push this energy into the deeper portion of the dermis. Then you have your lighter ones, your bipolar ones, like a Venus, an Exilus, your Formas, that are really about more superficial heating. And the technology comes from the studies where you want to get tissue to a certain temperature for a certain amount of time frame to actually force new collagen stimulation. And then, of course, the microfractional microneedling RF technologies, which are now about combining microneedling and radiofrequency together, which I consider kind of more in that newer trend. It's probably where everybody is going to nowadays.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think so too. I think people are really going to that regenerative type, medicine rather than, we do a lot of the fractional laser resurfacing that you see on your right, but that creates a lot of columns in the tissue, and the fractional microneedling, you don't create definite columns in the tissue, but you don't have loss of superficial epidermis either. So it's different. If somebody's got a lot of pigmentation on top, you need to deal with that top skin. If it's really tightening and collagen regeneration, you can do it with any of these heat-based devices as long as you get the time and temperature appropriate. You've got to have that time, maintaining temperature for a certain amount of time to get that collagen stimulated.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into first one we're going to talk about, Fibroblast Therapy.
My favorite.
So this is about disruption of that dermal structure. There are multitudes of plasma type of pens out there. You just have to understand how to use it and to make sure that the plasma pen that you are using is FDA approved, because there are some FDA approved ones. And what the difference is going to be is more along the lines of the energy delivered, the consistency of energy delivered, because it takes a lot of energy to create plasma. It's the next stage from gas. And so you just have to be a lot more careful and understand kind of what you're trying to accomplish and which patient is going to be good for it.
I'm going to be Debbie Downer right now. The reason this is not a device I have, nor do I want, is, and you have it at your clinic and you like it.
Yeah.
I love something that's very consistent and reproducible, and this is very, very user dependent. So the amount of time they touch that to the skin or don't touch it to the skin is going to denote the level of damage. So I've seen hyper and hypopigmentation with this device, probably in the hands of somebody who's done it tons and they're very, very consistent with it, probably get a beautiful result. I just like something that's a little bit more consistent with the treatment field.
No, completely agree. I mean, this one is definitely for that person who is going to be consistent with their treatment. And it's not everybody that should be doing it. If you're heavy-handed, or you're not going to be very cognizant and logical and methodical with your treatment, maybe this is something that you should not do, because you have to choose the right patient population to do this. If they have really, really darker skin types, the higher chances of hyperpigmentation. If you fry a skin too much and you literally give them a big burn, you're going to hypopigment them. Because you literally destroyed all the melanocytes into the area. So be a lot more careful with regards to this technology. Not that it's not great, but remember, this is more superficial. You're causing immediate contraction and scabbing up, and then they fall off. I find that this doesn't go deep enough to really cause a deeper collagen stimulation, but superficially for people who have really thin skin, I think it does really, really nicely. It really can do very nice.
There's also other devices that do resurfacing. Years ago, we had something called a Portrait that was we used plasma. And then Renuvion is something that's an internal tissue tightening the surgeons use. It will go internally and really kind of just suck across the underside and really cause some tissue contraction with plasma. So it's used in different devices, which is plasma is a really nice treatment. It's a really nice therapy.
All right. So next on microfocused ultrasound. So these are ultrasound waves that literally target the skin at certain depths, and that microfocused ultrasound creates these I guess you can microscopic damage in that tissue, whatever tissue layer that causes contraction and causes damage that forces new collagen contraction into the area. Most of you guys probably have heard, these are the Ultheras, the Ultherapies out there. I think one of the newer ones, Softwave, is one out there. What are your thoughts?
Oh, you don't ask me.
Of course I need to ask you. That's what we're here to chit chat and see what biases or no biases that we have.
Gosh, I was hoping you weren't going to say. I'm such a Debbie Downer. You have first of all, you have Ultherapy.
We have Ultherapy,
Tell me what you've seen with it.
So this is a machine that is definitely operator dependent. You have to be very, very cognizant, methodical, thought-provoking, because when you are doing this, the reason why they have a picture of the ultrasound right there on the screen is that you need to make sure you're hitting the right level. You're hitting the SMAS level, you're hitting the dermal level, you're hitting the, right at that 1.5 millimeter area. So if you are not cognizant and you're just going boop, boop, boop with every pulse, you can potentially destroy fat. And I've definitely seen that on a few patients. So ultimately, where I find it's done a beautiful job is, you could say, my younger ones who have a lot of fattier tissue, especially my Asian population, and why Ulthera was all the rage in the Asian community, was that you could literally almost slim out the face because you could take out some of that fattier tissue superficially, and at the same time, because you focused at that 4.5 millimeter, 3 millimeter, 1.5 millimeters, you get a tissue tightening effect from the top layers of the skin. I think SoftWave, they focused most of theirs in that 1.5 layer. And so I think that this is where you have to be much more careful and much more cognizant of using this type of machine, because it isn't just a replicatable type of a thing. Everybody has different layers, and from even the neck area, you can definitely lose some fat if you're really not watching out carefully of where you are, which is why this machine is very operator dependent, very operator dependent. It's not as easy as sometimes they make it seem. I mean, it's replicatable in a sense, but I would definitely say, in my experience, because we do have these but a couple of our clinics, they have slowly fallen out of favor because they do take a long time, and it does hurt because that microfocused ultrasound does hurt. But ultimately, tissue tightening, I have definitely seen. I think it's a very dependent on that. It is a slower result as far as seeing it immediately. There are other things that we've advanced so much now that I'm definitely seeing a little bit better. But that would be my opinion. Very operator dependent.
Okay. So I don't feel so bad now. So yes, at my previous clinic, I had them come in and want to sell me this machine. So they did a treatment on me, and my face thinned down and
dropped.
Yeah. So I didn't buy it.
So yes. Yeah. So as I said, I mean, it really is very operator dependent. I think my patients who have rounder, fatter faces that have more baby fat in, great treatment for those, because most of them want to slim down their face.
And the company doesn't talk about fat destruction at all. But if you think about it, you've got these high focused ultrasound waves going through the skin, through the superficial fat to the SMAS. So it's going to burn a hole into those areas. So it's going to have a little bit of fat lipolysis. I could imagine it not.
Possibly.
So it's probably why it's thinning it down.
So that is microfocused ultrasound. Decent technology. We'll see where it comes down. I mean, remember Liposonics was the one that was created years and years ago for the
torture.
body.
It was torture.
It definitely hurt.
we did it to our front office.
That one, I'm glad I was not the guinea pig.
We didn't buy that one either.
All right, microneedling.
We love this.
Yes.
So there's no bad thing about that. Well, not a bad thing. Microneedling is excellent. You've got devices. They're like SkinPen, DermaPen, RejuvaPen. Lots of different microneedling devices out there. You find which one you like the best. They're all going to be almost like tattoo guns, where the needle sections will kind of go in and out at a certain RPM. And the needle is usually very tiny, like a 32, 33 gauge. The little tip is adjustable, so it'll go in different depths into the skin. And you're literally just making microchannels in the skin. You're just damaging the tissue, which stimulates the body to go, oops, it's broken, I need to fix it. So the body goes in and creates collagen and gets that dermis thickened and helps build in some new tissue into acne scars. It helps shrink pores in that it creates a little thicker dermis, so the pores look a little bit smaller. It's beautiful. I've seen recently where an esthetician here in California was doing this illegally, and she literally did it so much on one of my patients on her cheek that she abraded, she took all the skin off her cheek.
Really?
So yeah, so you just you're like, you need to know how to use it.
Yep.
You know, you think this is innocuous, but you need a licensed medical provider doing this kind of a treatment. It's not legal for estheticians to do this in the state of California.
I think it's great. I think, you know, what it does is collagen induction therapy is actually what it's for. You know, as all of these treatments, for the most part, they require a series of treatments. And if you don't counsel your patient that it's going to take a series, you're going to get patients who complain, I did one treatment, I did two treatments, I don't see anything. Well, it takes time for collagen to stimulate. It takes a couple of weeks. On top of that, the amount of damage that you're doing is going to be a certain percentage that you want to damage it. I mean, it's the concept of fractional lasers. You don't want to damage everything at one time. If you do, you're going to spend a lot of time healing. We're fractionally damaging the tissue so that you get healthy tissue around the tissue that's damaged, that forces new collagen, forces new rejuvenation at a much quicker level. I love this with, you know, I know PRP is one thing that people love. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I'm on to more stuff. I love exosomes, stem cells. I think that works even better, way better with regards to microneedling. I think depending, if you're looking for more of that lighter, just super rejuvenation, glow, change in collagen, I really do like a lighter treatment with these stem cells, with these exosomes and stuff like that. If you're really trying to deal with acne scars, then yeah, you need to go down deep, traumatize it to undermine some of that scar tissue in that sense. So definitely different depths for different things. I think you also need to make sure that your pen that you're using is FDA approved.
Yes.
There is a difference between these pens. The way they enter in, there's a smoothness with it. I think at our clinics, we have mostly skin pens. We do have an older derma pen, so the derma pens have been decent. There's Rejuvapen. There's a couple of pens out there I'm sure that people use, but I think the FDA approved ones that I know of are, I think, Rejuvapen, skin pen. I'm not sure about DermaPen. I don't know. They've had multiple different
I've had a few versions. And I've gone back to skin pen. Yeah.
So that's just our opinion.
If you guys have questions, type them in, because we now can see your questions up on a board. That's why I'm looking over here. So if you have questions, just type them in.
Monopolar radiofrequency.
Just mentioned thermage. Yeah.
So this is, you know, essentially the contraction of tissue from getting this certain amount of heat into the area. So I know people who have been in the industry long enough, like me, understand, you know, thermage has been around since 2003 or 4.
Yeah.
They have a couple of iterations. The newest one is called FLX. I got into it when it was a CPT. I think the way they teach how to do it, not great results. It's okay results. I think
you have your own way. You developed your own way.
I always develop my own way.
The results were amazing. Tell them kind of about what you did.
It's a different technique, and I was able to, you know, get the tissue or get the energy level practically 2 to 3 times what they are talking about. And so ultimately, I think when you do at the lower levels, this can hurt up to a certain point, because it is a lot of energy being focused into the deeper tissue layers. Earlier on, actually, thermage, when it was in this first evolution, actually, they had it so strong that they were able to destroy fat. So they had to control the amount of buffering, how far this monopolar radiofrequency actually travels into the skin. And so monopolar is one where the energy floats into the tissue and heats up at a deeper level. That's why when you are doing monopolar ones, you typically have to have a grounding pad. Because the energy does kind of float back into the grounding pad.
And they can't have a pacemaker.
Yes, this one is definitely cannot have a pacemaker. You definitely don't want it to be over a metal object if there is metal in the area. If it's somewhere else, perfectly fine, because you can really heat up. But I think currently, thermage is the only one that I know of that's like currently on the marketplace as far as a good monopolar radio frequency. And the radio frequency that they use is a nice clean energy. So definitely a really, really good, I consider a great treatment. I mean, my Asians love this treatment. It's really no downtime. It just gets messy. They have this gel and you have to use the gel, and I use a lot of gel. It gets messy, but dude, this thermage, when done well, not the way the company does it.
The quack technique.
But when it's done well,
you need to trademark your quack technique.
Immediate contraction, where my patients are actually sleeping. I don't even do numbing creams. I don't do nothing. And I get them at 5.5, 6 joules, which is like 2 to 3 times the amount that most patients are tolerating when they do this damping technique. So, you know, you guys have to understand what the technology is and start to play with it and mingle with it and see how you can make your treatment get even better.
And two, like, you think about how did he change his technique according to the modality. So he's got monopolar radiofrequency. He knows it's going to heat up tissue. It's going from one pole to the other. It's going from like positive to negative, negative to positive. And he's thinking that it used to be stamping and just put a lot of heat into one place. And he's thinking, okay, the more you heat something up, the longer you keep it heated up, you're going to get a better result. So the reason I bring this up is always keep your critical thinking. Keep your wheels turning, you guys, and look at different things. The device manufacturers are always going to tell you the safest way to do something because they don't want to get into any legal trouble. But you can always look at something and go, you know what? If I do this, it's going to change this in the tissue and it might work a little better. And you can always play with little things as long as you don't hurt someone.
Always.
Try it on your staff.
But you know what? And the great thing is, because I used to do a ton of thermages before my arm fell off, but it was great because I actually was able to actually see where my patients actually started to age. And this is when I started actually in those days, which was like 10 years ago, start to inject differently, where I actually injected more into the lateral face, because I could feel and see, because of the immediate contraction, where the actual patient lost volume. I mean, you literally can feel and see where they lost volume because they're laying flat and you're tightening the skin. So you're literally seeing the skin shrink wrap and you're like, ooh, they don't have as much volume. It's harder for me to do my technique here because they don't have that fattier tissue into the area. So, you know, you really don't understand how how all of this interplays into your thought pattern, and your critical thinking cap always needs to be on with regards to that.
Yeah.
All right.
Bipolar. So bipolar is where it's dual electrode. The current is passing from one side electrode to the other side. So it's not going through the entire body. It's just going through one side of the tissue to the other side. So this is like Exilus, Forma, Venus. So this is the one where you've got a more superficial heating. The wider the positive and negative are, the deeper it's going to go into the tissue generally. If it's very narrow, it's going to go very superficial, but it's just going to get that bulk heating in the tissue. So this is where you need that device to be, like sitting there for a while, just heating the tissue. So it has to
certain ones will heat faster.
It has to get to a certain temperature and maintained there for a certain amount of time.
For any RF, if you really look into the research, it has to be somewhere at least 43 to 45 degrees Celsius underneath the tissue to really, and for a certain amount of time frame to actually start that collagen stimulation. So when you are doing bipolar RFs, to really get good treatment results, you need to start in a specific small area, build up the heat into that area, get it to the temperature you want it, and then start expanding from there. That's the only way you're really going to get that heat. If you're just doing the whole face and you're just going back and forth, you're not going to get the temperature to where you want. You want to start in one focused area and then start to build and build and build and keep going back into area so you actually create that heat throughout the whole area. And that's how you're going to get an RF to get you the results that other people are getting, and you're wondering why you're not getting. As I said, operator dependent. So it's understanding what you need to do to get the results that the research does show.
Yeah. Catherine had a question. What are our thoughts on the plasma radiofrequency Opus machine? I've never heard of that.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, I feel stupid right now.
No. Honestly, no. Catherine, I don't know. I've never heard of.
Catherine, who's it made by?
I know. There's so many different machines out there.
Opus.
Maybe you can look it up while we talk.
Excuse me. I'm going to find the Opus machine.
I've never heard of a plasma radiofrequency. I know Exilus has a little ultrasound. Microchanneling from ProCell. I don't know ProCell as well. Sorry. If that's another microneedling device, great. It's made by Alma, the radiofrequency.
Alma.
I don't know, actually. I think at the end of the day, if it's radio frequency, it should be pretty decent. I'll have to look into it.
Is it a let us know if it's a resurfacing device or if it's just tightening. Interesting, because if it's superficial plasma, we used to deal with one years ago called Portrait that was a resurfacing. It was amazing. Yeah. But plasma is a nice Morpheus is a game changer. Yeah.
So microneedling RF is where most of us are loving.
Yes.
And this is where you have these needles that come out, and it's dual electrodes, and so these currents pass in between the little needles that go in. So you're combining microneedling with radio frequency and pushing radio frequency in between the actual little electrodes or the tips of this.
And some of these are insulated so that the actual epidermis, where a lot of the melanocytes, is protected from the heat. Some are insulated, so only the heat comes out of the bottom, and you can adjust the amount of energy and the duration that the energy is in the tissue with these devices. So you can really do a lot with it.
Yes, lots of different ones on the marketplace. I don't think we've named them all, but Silfirm, Vivace, Virtue, Scarlet, Genius, Secret, Morpheus, Fractora, Profound. A lot of different things that you can do with this. I mean, ultimately, you have to be careful with regards to this. Understanding depth is very important. What are you trying to treat? How deep are you trying to go? I know Morpheus, they talk about going deep. You have to understand something like Profound. They're going so deep. Be a little careful because they are also insulated tips, which means you're forcing all the energy into the bottom. You're going to create a lot more issues with regards to that, and you may not get as much coagulation and much more bloodier, which actually does much more of a destruction of tissue versus actually a coagulation of tissue, which is going to be probably much more faster healing time with regards to that.
Yeah, I did the Profound years back, which is the Morpheus. It's the same machine.
Fractora.
Fractora. I did the Fractora years ago, and that was just kind of renamed, but that is very similar in the stamping technique, the intense heat. Sometimes that one's a little bit different. The Fractora is very different from the Profound. The Profound is much more invasive.
And that was the first original kind of RF microneedling that came out. Yeah. And so that one, typically your plastic surgeons like it because that's where that started off. But there's a lot of new microneedling RF technology out there. If you had to ask me, Carla, which one I would do if I had to put my money on it, choosing the machines are really going to be based off of your demographics. Like who are you trying to treat out there? What is your demographics? What are they trying to improve on? The general sense. And then you could start off with one or two machines and then slowly add on to fill in the little gaps of it. I currently own, we have Vivace at our clinics.
I have a Vivace.
Virtue, which is kind of a second generation of Vivace, made by the same manufacturer. But my newest one is Silfirm. So I really do like the Silfirm. If you are into microneedling RF, I mean, my Silfirm is amazing. I see immediate contraction with it. It's it's non-insulated tips. I can go into a whole blah, blah, blah with regards to it. But the inventor, kind of the godfather of microneedling RF, kind of the Dr. Na is one of the inventors of it. And if you really know how to use it, it really is an amazing. I did one on her. I did one on me. This is actually so much tighter with one treatment. But all microneedling RF treatments are great. The one thing that I do like about Silpherm is there actually is so most of them are what we call continuous wave radiofrequency. So it's a longer continuous wave of radiofrequency that gives off to do a little bit more tissue tightening and things like that. The one cool thing about Silpherm that I just learned, and the reason why I got it as my newest one, is there's actually a pulsed wave energy. So it pulse waves the radiofrequency, which is a cooler new phenomenon and a concept that could potentially treat melasma, hypopigmentation, rosacea, all this other stuff. So
that's counterintuitive.
I will put it out there for you guys because this is kind of cool, different things out there. If you look at it, Silpherm, it's the first one underneath the radiofrequency. Oh, you guys put up the radiofrequency thing? Yeah. If you reach out, tell them that we sent you, so maybe they'll give you a better discount. Hopefully. All these machines are not super expensive, but they're not cheap.
I know that. Angelica's saying she doesn't understand how the pulse wave targets pigment redness. You know what? I'm like,
we'll go over that, Angelica.
Heat and melasma, what? But it's like it's crazy. So it takes a whole class to understand how. Dr. Na's brilliant. So he's a whole nother class in that. But that's crazy, right?
But RF microneedling in general, I think
RF I love my Vivace.
If you had to get one device, that's all you could afford, I would choose a microneedling RF device at this point in time. Laser hair removal, depending on where you are, there's a lot of places that just focus on laser hair removal. Send them there.
Yeah, it's a loss leader.
I haven't found that laser hair removal actually translates in my practices to actually people who want to do fillers, toxins, blah, blah, blah. It's typically the other way around. My filler toxin people, oh, you do laser hair removal? Let me just do it while I'm here type of a thing. But as far as something that really makes skin tighter, works on wrinkles and all of that, skin thickness and stuff like that, my microneedling RF is probably one that I really would, if you had to choose your first one, I probably would get one of those. Just in my opinion. Let's see. So your energy-based devices, everything creates inflammation, then granulation tissue happens, you get wound contraction, and wound contraction is where the stimulation of collagen really is starting to snowball and get really that tighter, firmer, new collagen. This is all about, remember when you are working on collagen, whether it's microneedling or any of these completely all energy-based devices, this is where you're about reforming that layer so that you get the better elastin, the better collagen, and so you're gonna hold on to hyaluronic acid better. So this is why you see it in like Sculptra. When you inject Sculptra, you're getting better collagen. Well, what that does is it creates a better framework so that when your hyaluronic acid that your body naturally produces is produced, it actually is able to hold properly. And that's where you get the dewiness. Where you look at some people's skin, you're like, wow, those young people's skin have this nice like bounce to it and there's this glow to it. It's because the hyaluronic acid is now able to fit in and really settle into that framework of what the collagen network is supposed to be about. And so this is all about reforming that collagen network so that you get a youthful skin.
And this is why we kind of time a lot of these energy-based devices like a month from each other, because we want that inflammation to go away. We want the granulation tissue to grow in, and we want the wound to start healing in there and getting you some good collagen, and then we just hit it again. So we kind of do these about 1 month apart. The radiofrequency microneedling, the regular microneedling, a lot of these we do about 1 month apart.
Yep. And so it's really my favorite as far as microneedling RF is my favorite, but ultimately I have all of them, kind of.
You have a lot of them.
I have a lot of them. And so, ultimately, I think that it's really up to you in deciding what treatment value you want to bring to your clients, your demographics. I don't think there's one that's better than the other. I think it just comes down to, as we have been talking about, your operator dependency. Do you know your machine? Do you understand the why of your machine and what you're doing that's going to help you get the results that you're looking for?
So learn everything you can. If you're thinking about getting one of these devices, learn it, study it, start light. You want to see how the skin behaves, how different types of skin behave doing these types of treatments. So dip your toe in it. I always say it's like having a baby. Learn what it does, how it behaves, how things react, how different people's skin react, and then go on. So it's one of those things, you just learn it before you do it. Learn everything about it before you do it, so you don't hurt anybody.
As always, if you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to DM us at the Aesthetic Immersion on IG or learn at theaestheticimmersion.com. This will be replayed on YouTube. Give them about a week to upload it, and it'll go onto our on our YouTube channel. And then I guess we're now supposedly doing a podcast. It'll be available on our podcast.
So it's going to be on Apple Podcasts. So you will find that this will stream on Apple Podcasts. So while you're driving, you can learn all about non-laser energy-based devices and everything we're talking about for AI Live.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time.